Hi everyone. I hope you guys are doing all good and are safe at your places. Going to start with a new video today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rizwan, and I am one of the senior consultants with Alif Consulting. And today we are going to discuss on Microsoft Exchange Online groups, different groups within Microsoft Exchange Online, and why these groups are being important from the point of view of sending, receiving emails or different services which we are using on daily basis like OneDrive and SharePoint. So let's get started, and we would be discussing today on all what are different types of group just does Office 365 groups support or Exchange Online supports. So if you would have heard about the very first group, which is called as a distribution group. So talking broadly about this topic, distribution group, this has been used from the legacy time, meaning then when the Exchange servers came into existence from Exchange 2000 server 90s, from the legacy servers from 2003 and 2007, this concept was being widely used because it was a major challenge for a sender to be able to send emails to multiple people. Now, when I say multiple people, sending emails for 5 or 10 in one single message event is quite easy, that we can just select those 5 recipients and add it into the two form that two button, and we can easily send that email. But what if that number goes beyond like 100, 200, 500, and what would be the solution for that? It would practically not be possible to add 500 people on a single email event, and that would be simply time consuming, and it would be a tough challenge for the sender, for the email sender. So to overcome this, Exchange came up with a feature called as distribution group, wherein the job of this distribution group is it would be a concrete group adding with some sorts of members within it. And what is the job of this group is whoever members who are a part of this distribution group, the email is going to send them. So unlike now, if I've added 500 members to this group would also be containing its own email address, because definitely whenever we would be sending an email, the email tab or the email column would require a recipient email address, which would be in the form of user@domain.com. So yes, this distribution group has a primary email address associated with it, but keep one thing in mind, that emails are always being sent, or I can say it, emails are always being delivered on a mailbox. They cannot be delivered to a group or to any such third parties, because emails are always meant to be delivered for only for a mailbox, because mailbox is the container where all these things get stored. So now if this group sets an email address, so where are the emails going and how it is going forwarded to those group. So basically, when we send the email to the distribution group by entering the email address of that distribution group, that email is actually being forwarded within the members who are a part of that distribution group. So that is the work of it, and literally Exchange holds that email, and what it does is once it finds the mailbox, then it starts getting sending the emails to those mailboxes, and ultimately the emails are then delivered to the mailboxes. Meaning you can, I mean in technical terms, the email is getting delivered to the mailbox, but in layman terms, the email is actually getting distributed or forwarded or sent to the members of a distribution group. This is how we would be categorizing distribution group. The next form of it was dynamic distribution group. So if you have if you've been easily able to understand as if what is a distribution group, you shouldn't be having or taking much time to be able to understand as if what is a dynamic distribution group. Dynamic distribution group is pretty much the updated version of a distribution group, because within distribution group, what it tends to be doing is you have to manually enter the people. Though it is a one time work, you have to manually add those members. Let's say if I've added 100 of members to a distribution group, and all of a sudden I work in an industry wherein people tend to come on contract basis. So this is the person who is going to be staying into the company for a month, 2 month, or a 6 month basis, and after that he is not going to stay there. So I have to add those members into the distribution group, and let's say in the next week I again have to add 15 members. then in the next month I have to add 100 members. So practically it would be a headache from an endpoint or from an administration's point of view, that I need to add those members, I need to check it on regular basis which one is the person who is into the organization and which one is there who is not into the organization. So this one goes as a manual work, wherein an administrator's job to a point. For some industries, once they have been added to a list and it is going to work on for years and years, that is not a challenge. But for all to this contractual basis company, it would be somehow tedious at times. So to overcome them, Microsoft came up with a group feature called as dynamic distribution group, and within this dynamic distribution group it would totally be a query based group, meaning that we would not be focusing on how to create a dynamic distribution group, but how the members are supposed to be getting in added to this dynamic distribution group. So that is all dependent on the exchange object. That is the object we is to create from Office Admin Center, whether it is an user mailbox, a shared mailbox, a mail contact, a mail user, external contact, whatever it is. The dynamic distribution groups isolates or rectifies an object either by object type or by some custom attributes. So let's say, to be able to give you as an example, I have 15 or 20 people of mine working with this, that they are a member of this group. But what I've done is, rather than adding those members, the 20 members manually as adder members, what I've done is there is a value, a custom attribute within every exchange object, that if you would be specifying that attribute, this dynamic distribution group is automatically going to pick up that object and is going to add that object into the distribution list membership. So you can get it done with the help of a PowerShell command, or also with the help of the GUI, the graphical user interface. So let's say I am running a school, and within the school, let's say I have numerous students. From some practical sessions are getting added. So I have added 10 members of it, and I know that in the coming week I still need to add 5 more students, which would be a part of this group. So the question to me would be whether I would be adding those members in a distribution group or in a dynamic distribution group. So if I knew that this process is a continuous process and it happens every week, every month, so what I would do is I would just go to that object, let's say student 1, 2, 3, 4. So for the 15, 10 ones, it is done. For the remaining 5 ones, so starting from student 1 to student 15, I would be going on to its object, its custom attribute, and would define that whoever user which matches the attribute as custom attributes as student of class 8. So wherever it matches this query, that whoever would be adding this value, student of class 8, would automatically be getting in added to this dynamic distribution group. But the point or the catch to that is the custom attribute needs to have this value, student of class 8, if exchange, because that is the only isolation, or let's say only representation for dynamic distribution group, because dynamic distribution group has nothing to do with whether it is a mail contact, a mail user, or a user mailbox. It is only going to look for that value, the one which you have specified as student of class 8, and this is what we call in technical terms as query based. We have created a query wherein we would be telling dynamic distribution group that if you find this value, kindly add that object to your group, to your membership. And this is the way through which dynamic distribution group would add it and would be a part of that group. And similarly, or unlike distribution group, this one would also be containing a primary SMTP address, and automatically whoever person sending an email to that dynamic distribution group, then the email sending technique would still be the same. Okay, so this is all about distribution and dynamic distribution group. Next, we would be talking about security group, or what is a security group. So unlike if we have the same number of people, wherein number of people join in an organization, let's say I have gotten a request that I need to give licenses to hundreds of people right now in one go. So the easiest solution would be go to those 100 users one on one time, or select them in a checkboxes list and assign the licenses. Or there would be a phase called as a PowerShell, wherein I would be taking a list of all these users and assigning the licenses using a script. The third way would be the modular Azure way, wherein I would be creating a security group and I would be adding those members to that group. So the next time what I need to do is, rather than being assigning the licenses to those 100 people within like by giving it in the form of a single selecting, multiple selecting, or from script, I would just be assigning the license to that security group. So automatically whichever user who would be a part of that security group automatically would get that license. So widely this feature is used, or this group is being used for assigning permissions for multiple users in one go. Mail enabled security group would almost be the same, but the only added feature or added advantage feature with that would be it is going to send emails, because a mail future primary SMTP mail address feature would be going to use with this. And if it needs to send in any email for any permission groups within SharePoint or OneDrive, so you can send emails to those members of the group using this common security group email addresses mailbox, and it can easily send email on those members. And now the last one would be Microsoft 365 group or Office 365 group. Now, what is an Office 365 group? An Office 365 group is actually a mailbox. Yes, it is more or less a shared mailbox, and whoever would be a part of this group would automatically be seeing in that group can be getted and added to their mailboxes. But yes, these groups have somehow the same relationship with shared mailboxes, but with the help of shared mailboxes you can receive email, send email. You can also do the same stuff with the Office 365 groupings and stuff. But yes, you can set up schedulers with Office 365 groups. You can use this for storage containers. What things which makes it different from a shared mailbox is that shared mailbox would dedicatedly be used for Office 365 for emailing purposes. But yes, whenever you create a SharePoint site or a Teams within Microsoft Teams itself by creating some channels, so automatically at the backend it is the Microsoft 365 group which gets created. Now how the functioning of that works is, whatever storage container or data pattern you use, so for emailing purposes, to be able to send emails within the members or the link, the document library, all those jobs tasks is taken care by this Microsoft 365 group. And also many experts tells that this is the most advanced feature or the most best upgrade of Microsoft public folders, because at earlier levels in the legacy time people used to use public folders to be able to store their data on a centralized location database. It would be in the form of primary database container type, but that has been widely now upgraded with Microsoft 365 group. You can create your own groups, use this for mailing purposes, for storing purposes, and these groups also have an interrelationship with SharePoint and with OneDrive, so that their email features are being handy with whenever they are doing some task with SharePoint and with OneDrive. So this is all about grouping. And the main difference, if you would talk about the differences in the next slide within Microsoft 365 group and a distribution list, would be that distribution list would simply be a group. It would never be a container, meaning it would not be having a mailbox of its own. So distribution group is just a group. But when you talk about 365 group and Office 365 group, it would be a group with an email address as well as a separate mailbox. It would be getting a separate mailbox, and it would be getting and used to receive emails on that group, so that you can exchange emails within the members of that group. That is pretty much from my side for this session. And if you want, let me take you to this Exchange Admin Center group site where we can specifically talk about the groups. In this session we are just been talking about these groups, and if you click on this drop down you would see that these are the groups which are being supported by Exchange, which has a distribution group, a mail enabled security group, and a dynamic distribution group. If you need to create a 365 group, you see you directly have it here itself. And if you would see that I have these many Microsoft 365 groups. So these are not the groups which I have manually created. Some of them could be my active sites within SharePoint. Some of them could be the teams which I have created within. Let me show you a quick glimpse of it. So let's say if I click on Teams, or even if I click on the admin center, and from that if I am clicking on SharePoint, this is just to give you a glimpse, because until the time the page gets loaded, okay, I am just going to show you how you can manage with those distribution list and dynamic distribution list. If you have seen, this is a query based dynamic distribution group picture, and how you are going to create this. So this is my dynamic distribution group, and this is the membership. So you see, if I have added this custom attribute, so this is going to take the custom attribute, check, check, check. Just giving you as an example with this group. So whoever members who have their custom attributes set as check on attribute number 13, 14 or 15, automatically they are going to be a member of this group over here. This is a dynamic distribution group. Now from mailboxes point, if I click on this option, and if you'll ask me where we can set the custom attribute on a user basis, so this is the place where you can set the custom attribute, and by default 15 attributes, 15 custom attributes are being supported by Exchange. So you can give it any random value of your choice, but just make this sure whatever value you add here, that value has to be present into this group's name over here, and it should be getting in feed it within this name, that is this. See, this is the name of that value. So this is the value name, this is the attribute, and this is the value. Okay, so automatically those members gets in and added. Now okay, I just see two sites of mine being getting and deployed. So you see these this is also showing you SharePoint, that what is this first team, my first team site. So literally you are going to see all these names here. You see my first team site, it is again a Microsoft 365 group. Even if I would show you these options, so these are my teams, my first team site, private team, org wide team, first test team, test bram. So you would be able to see all these name over here. So see, so I have not personally created it. The moment I am creating a team of my own, automatically at the backend a Microsoft 365 group gets in provision, and automatically the group is assigned with a primary SMTP address. Okay, so this is how the overall functioning of creating groups is. And dynamic distribution groups are being specifically distribution group is being widely used, and Microsoft 365 is all into automation, and it is being getting used most probably either by SharePoint or either by Teams. However, you can still get it used on a personal mailbox as well, because if this is my mailbox and this is the team, you see, so which these are all my shared my M365 group. So whichever part I would be of, I would automatically be able to see this. You see, because if this would have been a distribution group would not contain a mailbox. So these groups all here are containing a mailbox. That means that the column where it says groups, only the Office 365 groups or the M365 groups are going to be getting in added over here. That is all from my side for this session. I hope you guys have liked it, and if you have any questions that needs to be answered from my side from this specific topic, you guys are welcome to ping me or drop me an email on info@alifconsulting.com. That would be all from my side. Thank you so much for listening to me, and you guys take care of yourself and you stay safe. Have a good day. Bye bye.